What if your phone could connect directly to a satellite, without a special device, without a dish, and without changing your carrier? That is the big idea behind AST SpaceMobile. But the real question is not just whether the technology sounds exciting, it is whether the business can turn that idea into a scalable, profitable network. In this video, we're breaking down how AST SpaceMobile works, how it makes money, where the strengths are, and where the biggest risks sit. Quick disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. We are looking at the business model, the strategy, and the trade-offs, not telling you what to buy or sell. Let's get started. AST SpaceMobile is trying to build something unusual, a cellular network in space that talks directly to normal smartphones. Think of it like taking the cell tower and putting it into orbit. The company is not mainly selling to individual consumers. It is building infrastructure and working through mobile network operators and government customers. That means the business is closer to a wholesale network provider than a classic phone company. It is trying to become a layer underneath the wireless experience. So how does it make money? In simple terms, AST can earn revenue from hardware-related deliveries, service contracts, and commercial agreements tied to the network rollout. In the near term, a lot of the revenue story is still tied to deployment milestones and early commercial activity. That means the company is still in the build-out phase, not the mature cash collection phase. This is important because the economics of the business change depending on where the network is in that timeline. Early on, the company spends heavily. Later, if the network works at scale, the model could become far more efficient. The core operational engine has several moving parts. First, AST has to manufacture and launch satellites. Second, those satellites have to work in orbit. Third, the company needs carrier partners to help distribute the service. Fourth, regulators and spectrum rules have to stay in place. If any one of those parts slips, the whole timeline can move. So this is not a simple software business where you can launch a feature overnight. It is more like building an airline while the planes are still being assembled. That is what makes AST both interesting and difficult. Now let us look at the strengths and opportunities. The biggest one is differentiation. AST is trying to offer direct-to-device satellite connectivity using ordinary phones. That is a major potential advantage if it works at scale. The second strength is partnership reach. The company has built relationships across major telecom ecosystems and has support from large industry names. That can help with distribution, credibility, and eventual adoption. The third strength is strategic optionality. If the network expands successfully, AST is not just selling a product. It could become part of the backbone of mobile coverage in places where normal towers are weak or unavailable. There is also a financial angle to the bull case. AST has raised meaningful capital, which gives it room to keep building the system. In a capital-intensive business, having funding is not the same as being profitable, but it does buy time to execute. And if commercial rollout scales, the revenue profile could shift from lumpy early-stage activity toward a much larger recurring stream. That is the attraction here, a business with high upfront pain, but potentially large long-term reach. In other words, the upside is tied to whether AST can turn a technical breakthrough into a real network with real usage. Now for the risks and vulnerabilities. The biggest one is execution. AST still has to prove it can deploy satellites on schedule, keep them functioning, and turn those deployments into meaningful commercial revenue. The second risk is cost. This is a very expensive business to build. Satellites, launches, spectrum access, and ground infrastructure all require serious capital before the business can scale. The third risk is that the company has not yet reached a mature profit stage. Early-stage revenue can look impressive in percentage growth terms, while still being small relative to expenses. The fourth risk is competition and regulation. AST is operating in a space where other satellite and telecom players are active, and where spectrum, licensing, and government approvals matter a lot. And the fifth risk is timing. Even if the long-term vision is strong, the market tends to react to delays, setbacks, and dilution concerns long before it rewards future potential. So the core tension is straightforward. On one side, AST SpaceMobile has a highly differentiated idea and potentially massive market reach. On the other side, it faces heavy execution demands, high costs, and a long path before the economics are proven. That is what makes the story so compelling. It is a battle between a powerful technical vision and the reality of building a capital-intensive space network from the ground up. Where do you see this company in 5 years? Let me know in the comments below.